Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, reppin' both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire misunderstood. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city sand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's the fire spark. Together they ignite, voices like the park. Fans drift in jerseys, legacy bold. The Metropolitan story forever told. Turnstile spinning, the crowd floods the gates. This is family, no time for debates. Crack of the Batman, the roar never fades. Queens in the blood, it's how champions are made. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline gleams, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. 7-line swagger, vibes electric and wild. Mets legacy golden since I was a child. Orange crushed skies, let the battle ignite. Ride for the home team till the last fight.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channel and on X. What's up, Mets fans? On this Tuesday, August 19th, the Mets are on the road in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., to face the Nationals for a 3-game set with our best pitcher on the mound in David Peterson and Jake Irvin for the Nationals. How is everybody doing today? As the Mets did have an off day yesterday, did lose a half a game to the Reds, and to the Phillies, but that's okay because they were off. Now we have the opportunity to win 3 in a row and start a little bit of a winning streak here, and that is where the Mets need to get going, as they did get very, very, very unfortunate news about Francisco Alvarez. I think we all knew that the longer this news took to come out, the worse it was going to get. Funny thing how it happened, right? About 2-3 hours ago, he was on the IL. That was it. That's all we heard, right? Right thumb injury, IL, that was it. Not even, an hour later after that, we're hearing about 10 to 14 day to reevaluate the thumb. And more likely than not, as Mendoza just spoke not too long ago in his pregame interview, that it's more likely he's seen the season-ending surgery. So if you haven't heard about Francisco Alvarez, it's not good. It's not good. Right now, this kid's 22, 23 years old. He's going to have 3 hand surgeries on both hands combined. And he's not even 25 years old yet. Not even close. This is why when I talked about last show on the Mets Talk Live show, on the off-day show yesterday, that you cannot have one of your best offensive players and reliant on offensive stats from a catcher, because this is what happens to a lot of catchers. And again, he's had some freak injuries, right? He slid into a bag. He didn't slide. He belly flopped into second base because, again, they don't practice sliding in spring training at all. So, why slide head first, especially when you have hand injuries, is beyond me. But they don't practice their sliding. So he belly flopped to second base, which led him to, try to hold on to the bag even tighter, and he jammed his thumb. And it's just so annoying because we know the talent's there, but part of your talent, part of your job is to remain healthy, right? You can't be, a lot of people forget this. He was a number 1 overall prospect in baseball, Francisco Alvarez. He has fell very short of that marker. And it's frustrating because is it all about the injuries, or he's just never going to live up to his potential regardless of the injuries? But the injuries are going to take a toll. And this is why I talked about when people, always was like, oh, Alvarez, this, everybody gets excited about Alvarez. I don't get excited for offensive catchers, right? Have you watched the Baltimore Orioles? how they took a huge nosedive, and the big reason why is because their great young catcher was one of their big offensive juggernauts last year. Not as a good year as this year. These guys get beat up. So if one of your big offensive guys are a catcher, you're going to have a rude awakening, right? The most consistent guy is Real Muto and Salvador Perez that has been consistently doing it throughout their career. Even Real Muto is breaking down earlier than Salvador Perez is, right? They're a dime a dozen. And you hope that because Alvarez is so young, he can still get to that potential that we all thought he could. But again, 3 surgeries and within 2 years on both hands. And we all know he gets back behind the plate. What's going to happen? He's going to get foul balls off those hands. He's going to have to use that hand to throw to the pitcher, the second base, the first base, the third base. And that's not including, sliding into bags. So, oh yeah, Dakota, no, I'm not blaming his hustle. But it's obvious major league players don't practice sliding. They don't. Like, that is a belly flop. Like, they don't know how to slide. Why do you think a lot of these runners wear oven mitts when they're running the bags? Because they don't know how to slide. You wouldn't have that issue if you learned how to slide, even at head first. Like, the whole goal is sliding head first is putting your hands up so your fingers don't get jammed in the bag, right? You want to hit that bag with your palm. They don't do that. They don't learn that. Like, only like guys who are like major base stealers and who are fast are the ones that kind of have an idea of how to slide. But even them, they'll wear 2 oven mitts because they don't slide properly. And the same thing with Alvarez. He belly flopped into second base. It was a great hustle. But again, you got to know how to slide. He didn't know what the hell he was doing when he was running. Like, that's the problem. Like, being indecisive, not knowing how to slide is a big reason why that happened. That play wasn't close enough to have him belly flop and try to, maneuver away from the tag. It wasn't as close as it looked. And he still belly flopped and weirdly slid into second base. Like, his whole body basically threw his right hand into the bag because the way he slid. If he slid properly, his whole body weight would have just took him around across the bag. Like, so, listen, it's so frustrating because you've finally seen him start to pick it up offensively and look better at the plate. But we also, Met fans act like it's, this is Mike Piazza here. Like, we won last year despite any offense from the catcher. We played very well for the majority of the time Alvarez wasn't here. And Luis Torrens, look, I don't know what we're going to get from Luis Torrens offensively, but if we're talking about Luis Torrens offensively, that means the guys at the top are not doing their jobs. Haven't we talked about this already? Right? I don't care about the offense from the catcher. I should be getting my offense from third base and shortstop and right field and left field. Like, the top 4 guys, the top 5 guys need to do their jobs. If they do their jobs, we are not going to have conversations on a daily basis about Luis Torrens. This should not break the New York Mets offensively. It shouldn't. And if it does, then that's a detriment to the rest of the team, not because Francisco Alvarez is not on that team, not in this lineup. He hasn't been good enough to say, oh my God, look at all that offense we're losing. Because we know what it's about. It's about Soto. It's about Lindor, Alonso, Nimmo, McNeil, and hopefully Vientos, who is DHing today and back in the lineup after a very solid game on Sunday. That is where we have to get our offense, right? 1 through 7 should dominate offensively. They should do the job. 8 and 9 is irrelevant. Their main jobs is to find a way to get on base by any means necessary. And if that's a walk, that's a walk. Because your job as a bottom of the order guy, especially the bottom third, is to turn over the lineup to the top of the order. That's your job. I'm not expecting Torrens to hit a ball over the wall. I'm not even expecting Cedric Mullins to hit a ball over the wall. Now, if they connect on one, great. But their job is to turn over the lineup for the Lindors, Sotos, the Nimos, the Alonsos. Their job is to turn over that lineup to the top of the order. That is their job. And that is what they have to do. That is all they have to do. Now, there are going to be times where they're going to have people on base with 2 outs and they got to try to drive home a run. That's going to happen. But more often than not, they just need to get on base. They need to turn over the lineup. That's what they need to do. And if they do that, they'll be fine. I want Luis Torrens to worry about the pitchers and behind the plate and throwing out runners. That's all I need him to worry about. I just need him to be somewhat serviceable offensively. I know you're not Francisco Alvarez, but let's not act like Alvarez was doing this all season. He hasn't done it in 2 years. So this team can survive off of that. We've seen it. And now we also have Juan Soto in this lineup. Like, that's a huge difference. You know those 30 home runs that we were hoping to get from either Vientos or Alvarez? We're getting from Juan Soto. You know, it's ironic that Juan Soto, who shouldn't be hitting 40 home runs, which he's probably going to, is doing exactly what we should have seen from Vientos or Alvarez. They should have been the 30 home run guy. But, you know, Juan Soto with his 30 home runs and 20 stolen bases, he never had that many stolen bases in his career, and he's going to almost – I'm pretty confident because we still got 38 games. He's what? 11 away from his career high in home runs last year. And nobody thought he would even get close to 41 home runs. And again, it is what it is. Now, a lot of them are solo home runs. Again, so what? I'd like to get them, you know, I'd rather have more doubles with runners on base. I would take that. But I do think a year away from Yankee Stadium is only going to make him even the hitter that we've known about Juan Soto in years past next year. I think we're stuck with the guy that we're getting this year, who is almost a 95% pull hitter. Because I think getting out of Yankee Stadium as a lefty, it takes a while to realize that you can't just pull everything, right? That's why his favorite ground ball is 4-3. He's been hitting it to the second baseman all year because the ball that he drives to left center on that ball on the outside corner, he's been pulling off of that. He's been rolling it over to second base. And that has been his biggest problem all year. And the majority of his home runs are to the pull side. That is not Juan Soto, right? I want Juan Soto to be a 285 hitter, 30 to 35 home runs. I don't need 40 home runs. If you're going to get 40 home runs from Juan Soto, then you're going to have an average like you have now, more strikeouts, and a lot more ground balls. That's not the Juan Soto I want. I want a 30 home run Juan Soto batting 285 and driving in more runs. And I think that, you know, he doesn't have a ton of doubles as he did in years past, is because I think that when you go to Yankee Stadium as a lefty, you become a complete pull hitter, even if you don't want to. And I think it hurts the fact that now that he's out of Yankee Stadium, you know, for the majority of his career now, he's got to adjust. And I think that takes a full season to really adjust because you got so pull happy that, you know, you got home run happy. You got them home run eyes. And even Juan Soto himself has a hard time doing that. But what he is right now is a guy that, in my opinion, I think he's going to lead the Mets in home runs. I think he's going to have more home runs than Pete Alonso. But again, if you look at the overall numbers, Pete Alonso's having a better year offensively, just based on runners in scoring position. So, listen, it's so frustrating because, I mean, Met fans are acting like Alvarez is Mike Piazza. He's not. All right, he's been hitting better, and again, this is kind of like the Mark Vientos effect, where, you know, everybody likes the opposite field hitting from Alvarez, which is nice to see, right? But I don't want singles from Francisco Alvarez. I don't. I want the ball to be over the wall. Now, I think he had, 4 home runs since coming back from injury? That's okay. It's not great. I was in Washington when he first came back hitting that home run to right down the line in right field. Excuse me. So, you know, the power is what I want. I want power from Alvarez and I want power from Vientos. I don't care about their average. I really don't. Because their main job was to hit the ball over the wall. They failed to do that for the most part. So it is what it is at this point. Let me check the comments really quick, guys. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Let's see. Juan Soto really ages 34? Well, best than 34-year-old I know. My holy says Terrenz better step up. What do you want him to step up? There's nothing to step up. We know what he is. Let him worry about behind the plate. Again, if you're gonna worry, and this is what people are gonna do, and it's gonna annoy me. I know that, but it's gonna be frustrating as well because people are gonna bitch about the offense of Luis Terrenz like you don't know what he is. He's not a good offensive player. We all know that. That's why he's batting 8th in this lineup. Like, we can't worry about the offensive numbers for Luis Terrenz. If you're so worried about that, why even watch the Mets? Because if the top 6 and 7 don't do their jobs, we're not winning. So it doesn't matter what Luis Terrenz do. So don't worry about Luis Terrenz offensively. I think we're too obsessed with that. Right? The reason why we were talking about Luis Terrenz's offensive numbers when he was the starter, when Alvarez was hurt, was because the offense was not good. If the top 4 guys do their job and the other 3 guys from 5, 6, and 7 do their jobs, Luis Terrenz will not be a topic of conversation offensively. Their job is to find a way to get walks, maybe, put the ball in play, move over a runner, get the top of the lineup back up. That is their job. Turn the lineup over. That is Terrenz and Mullins' job. Turn the lineup over. That's all they have to do. I don't need offensive, big power from Luis Terrenz. It's not happening. So we're worried way too much about the offense of Terrenz. Yeah, but my holy, it was early in the season, right? There was not much of a book on Luis Terrenz offensively. So they were throwing him a lot of fastballs. He was hitting it the other way. They're not doing that anymore. He's a fastball hitter. He's not a breaking ball hitter. All they're throwing him is garbage up there. And, him trying to think that he has to do too much is going to strike out more. And I don't want that. I want him to be prepared to find a way to get on base. Any means necessary. And, again, don't worry about Terrenz offensively. Don't worry about it. And there will be times when he'll have people on base and he needs to drive in a run every now and then. But more often than not, he's not going to do that. But if there's runners on base by the time Luis Terrenz gets up at the plate, that means somebody else in front of him didn't do their job. Luis Terrenz isn't what we're looking for offensively. We're looking for him to be great behind the plate. That's it. That's what I need him to be. I need him to work well with the pitchers, throw out runners, and block balls. That's all I want from him. That is what we need from him. That's what we need from him. I need the pitcher to trust that he can throw a ball in the dirt and the catcher's going to block it. I need to know that the pitcher doesn't have to worry about the base runners too much because you got a cannon of an arm in Luis Terrenz. That's what I need to worry about. If he's not doing that, then we have a problem. What prospect? Well, everybody wants to bring up Kevin Parada. He's having a decent season. He's in AA right now. They're not doing that. And again, you want to try a rookie that nobody knows how they're going to play with 38 games to go and we're trying to make the playoffs. Guys, do you hear yourselves? That makes no sense. Luis Terrenz and Hayden Sanger are going to be fine. Like, why do we act like we didn't have the best record in baseball while these guys were catching? Like, do we understand that? But everybody just cares about the offensive numbers and they don't care about the defensive side. That should matter more as a catcher. And this is why I hate when there's a catcher that has some resemblance of good offense. Because everybody's like, oh, look at the offense. We need this offense. We need this power, blah, blah, blah. These catchers are falling apart at the seams. Alvarez is 22, 23 years old, and the guy has going to have 3 surgeries in total on his hand. And that's not including bumps and bruises for the other injuries that he has by getting hit by balls and, balls bouncing in the knees and bats swinging back and all that crazy stuff as well. He gets beat up back there. Like, there's a strong possibility Alvarez will not be the same in a few years. Like, there's a strong possibility of that. Find me a catcher that has had 3 hand surgeries on two hands and is going to be the same guy. That's not easy to come back from. You know how fragile those hands are? And these aren't like, bone fractures. These are soft tissue ligament damage. Like those getting repaired are very, very, the fingers and the hands are very vulnerable, especially as a catcher. Did you see how many times on just a Sunday game the other day alone where Alvarez, was the balls were fouled off and they're fouling off his glove and he winced? That's his surgically repaired left hand because he still feels the pain even with the surgery. So what do you think it's going to be? Him having UCL thumb surgery on his right hand, which is his throwing hand. Like, that's a problem. And Boogie, Vientos should not be the third baseman. I don't want to see Vientos at third base again. Do I want him in a lineup? Put him as DH. That's what we should do. Now, he better hit because I ain't giving him that much time because I want Marte hitting. Marte is our best hit, one of our best hitters in the lineup. And you're sitting him because Vientos had one good day. And again, I'm fine with that. I'm not going crazy. Beatty's a better third baseman defensively. Mauricio's a better third baseman defensively. I don't want Vientos. He's the worst third baseman you have. Put him at DH and let him hit. He better hit. I tell you this right now. There is no time to wait for Vientos being a DH, right? You want to give him this series? I'm all on board. But you're sitting Marte, who's been one of the hottest hitters on the Mets other than Francisco Lindor. Vientos does not need to play third base. Yeah, I don't care about his head. He lost his starting job. Number one, he didn't hit. Number two, he sucks defensively. So that's on him, right? Look in the mirror and say, hey, be a big boy. That swaggy V, all that confidence, all that cockiness, take it out onto the field. Don't be a baby. I don't want to hear about messing with his head. You're a grown adult. You're a professional ball player. You're getting a start because you hit a home run in Sunday's game. And right away, he made a diving catch, and he threw the ball away. Luckily, the guy didn't advance. So, no, I don't want him at third base. I take him as the DH. But he has a very limited time to figure it out. Because you can't sit Marte, who has been the better hitter. I'm sorry, you're just not. Vientos better not go 0 for 4 and look bad. Because I'll tell you right now, his ass is sitting. Because tomorrow, Marte's playing. Sorry. A-Rod was a shoddy third baseman. No, he wasn't. He's a gold glove third baseman. All right, and you're going to talk about A-Rod and Vientos in the same breath? Get off the channel, please. You've been with the channel a while, but please, I don't want to hear. That's nonsense. I don't want to hear about that. Vientos is not a good third baseman. You had an all-star gold glove caliber shortstop playing third base for the Yankees. I take A-Rod at third base right now at 50 years old over Mark Vientos. That is how bad Vientos is. Vientos doesn't have a position. We have to get over that. He's not very good. That's it. He's just not very good. If you want him to be the DH, I'm fine with that. But he has to hit. Again, you can't leave him in the lineup 5 days in a row to let him go 1 for 12, 1 for 13. That's not solving the issue. Because right now, you're sitting Marte, who is hitting. And listen, Truman, I hope Swaggy V is back. I hope Vientos is back. It would be nice to show his power. And again, don't talk about the singles. I don't want to see singles. All right, I don't want to see him, blocking up the base paths with his slow-ass speed. He does nothing well except hit home runs, and that's very, very minimal this year. So that's it. It's just that simple. Who are we platooning at second base? Vientos? You can't be serious. Vientos can't even play first base, let alone second base. And he can't play third base. Vientos is a DH, and that is a stretch. But again, he needs to hit the ball over the wall. I want Vientos to hit the ball over the wall. Don't give me some nonsense single, and everybody's like, he's back. He's back. No, he's not. He's not back. Not by any means. He's back. All right, that 11-game hitting streak, everybody, was basically bowing to his feet. Majority of them were singles. Okay? Majority of those hits were singles. Why do we want Vientos on the base path? For what? So he can't score on a double? Yeah, I don't need that. Nah, sorry. No, Boogie, I don't like his defense. And nobody should like his defense. He's terrible. His footwork sucks at third base. This is why it took him so long to come up to the big leagues, because the Mets didn't know where to play him. You can't have a defensive liability when you have David Peterson, who's a ground ball pitcher. Like basically this whole rotation right now, other than Manaya, are ground ball pitchers. You can't have Vientos botching balls with 38 games to go and you're trying to make the playoffs. It doesn't make sense, especially when you have better defenders in Beatty and Mauricio at third base. That's it. That's the problem. Beatty has been, besides that throw at second base, like that was a dumb throw. But even Lindor has 13 errors this year. So, but Beatty has stepped up his game defensively. And that is why I don't want Vientos there. You want to give him the opportunity at DH? I have no problem with that. He hit a big home run in Sunday's game. I'm all on board. Give him the opportunity. But you can't wait that long. This is not April. He goes 0 for 4. I don't want to see him in a line. And I'm talking about a bad 0 for 4. I'm not talking about hit the ball hard 4 times and you hit it right at somebody. That we'll have a conversation about. But he can't have 2 strikeouts and go 0 for 4 and look terrible at the plate after a good performance on Sunday. Because you're sitting Marte, who is red hot, who is a DH right now. So, unfortunately, Mark Vientos is not doing his job, which is hitting for power. It was nice to see that on Sunday. That was huge. But there's no need to have him at third base. Brett Beatty's the better third baseman, and Beatty has been more consistent than Mauricio, than Vientos, and anybody else you want to throw at third base. So Beatty deserves the third base job right now because he's been a little bit more consistent with the bat. So I like the lineup today. Like, I get the fact that Vientos hit a home run on Sunday. That's why he's in the lineup, and I'm okay with that. That's fine. But I'm going to tell you this right now. If Vientos does not look good, his first 2 at-bats, and this game is close, in the later innings, I guarantee you, Carlos Mendoza is going to pinch hit Marte for Vientos at the DH spot. Yeah, but here's the problem with DH and Nimmo, though. We're not doing Vientos in left field. Again, he's not a fast guy. You want a slow turtle in left field? No. Have you watched Lucas Duda? It doesn't work. Danny Murphy doesn't work. Vientos needs to sit his ass on the bench and get 4 plate appearances. That's all he needs to do. We don't need him left field. I don't even want him in the infield for practice. Keep him away. Take away his gloves. Leave him in the truck. Don't even bring him out. Don't even bring him out. Like, give him his bats and say, here you go, buddy. Enjoy. That's it. That's all you're good for. Well, XFL, that was the reason why Duda was in left field, because they seen the potential in his power, but eventually they made him move him to first base, which, again, what you could say, quote unquote, was his better position, which it really wasn't. His footwork sucked and he couldn't throw, as we all know in the World Series. We've seen that before. Like, committee, that's what he is. He's a slow turtle. Like, you know, let me get my dad, who's 63 years old. I guarantee he can beat Vientos to first base. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it is what it is. Like, let's not act like he's something that he's not. Like, we're acting like, you know, this is what we know what Vientos is, right? I don't think he's the player he was last year. He's not. Like, we're allowed to say that can be an anomaly. That can be just a rare season. There's many players in baseball that you can turn to that had one great season and never had a better season than that again. And probably not even close to that. And that's okay. I truly think Vientos is off this team after this year anyway. There's too much of a logjam because you're still going to be talking about Jet Williams probably in September, if not definitely next year. And then you got, you know, Ryan Clifford, who's a guy who's a possible first base outfielder. Like, we don't need more infielders to deal with. All right. If Vientos at the end of this year, over the next 2 months into the playoffs, shows some potential with the power, we can have the conversation of him being an everyday DH next year. God forbid the Mets actually have a DH that is competent. If Vientos can show consistency with his power, he should be the DH every day. But he hasn't. We all forget that he was the starting third baseman out of spring training because of what he did last year? It was his job. There was no conversation about him even thinking about losing his job. But he was so bad defensively and very bad offensively that they had to change it up. And that's unfortunate. But I like this lineup today, right? Lindor is scorching hot, not just red hot, scorching hot. Juan Soto has been Juan Soto. He's doing his thing, right? It would be nice to get some more runners in scoring position, but he's been very, very good. Nimmo is kind of in that weird streak again where he looks like a professional softball player and doesn't do anything except pop up and strike out. Pete Alonso, has been better. Again, he's been the most consistent, and he's been pretty good. Jeff McNeil has been Mr. Consistent. Mark Vientos, we just talked about him for 20 minutes. Brett Beatty deserves the third base job, has been consistent with the offense. Obviously, Luis Torrens is going to be our starting catcher. It is what it is, but it's all about the defense. It's all about the defense with Luis Torrens. And Cedric Mullins, as I said many times, he's going to be a professional. He's going to give you solid defense. He'll occasionally give you a nice couple of hits, but he's not going to be a game changer. Your 8 and 9 hitters shouldn't be game changers. Their job is just to turn over the lineup, and you hope they do that. You hope they're consistently doing that. If they do that, they have a successful offensive day. I don't care if they go, 0 for 2, 0 for 4, or a couple of walks in between. Get on base. Somehow, some way, get on base. So we'll see if that happens. Again, we know about the Nationals. They were, just think, prior to, when was it? I would say like the end of June, the Nationals were still in a good spot. Like they were there. They were a 500 team, and then it just completely fell apart. And all these young kids that they have, all these top prospects, aren't performing like they should have performed, and they're having a down season with the 24 games under 500. This is a team the New York Mets need to pounce and beat their asses. Just that simple. This needs to be a beatdown. This needs to be, grown men beating up kids. That's a bad analogy, but you guys know what I mean. Like, this is a situation where, the grown folks are going to show you how to play. Like, that's what needs to happen. This needs to be a 2 out of 3 series, 2 out of 3 wins from the Mets at least. Anything less than that is a complete disaster. 2 out of 3 at the least, and you would want that sweep. You should sweep this team. You got Peterson, you got Senga, you got Manaea. You wouldn't want nobody else out there. I know somebody say, hey, I'd rather have McLean out there. Well, his spot is not up. But these are your guys. You know who's going to start game 1, 2, and 3? All the 3 guys that are starting in this series. That's it. That's all we have to worry about. So Peterson had a very rough start his last time out. We need a bounce back from him. Let's hope that he didn't hit a wall innings-wise, because this is back-to-back years now of near 150 plus innings. We don't know what he can do with 2 years in a row of those innings, right? We don't know. We can all guess, but there's no evidence of him doing that and consistently still being good for another 4 or 5 starts until the playoffs. We have no idea. There's a strong possibility that David Peterson hit a wall. And again, guys, he was coming back from hip surgery last year and threw 170 innings, the most in his career. And he's going to hit that point again this year. There's nothing to tell you that, he can do it. We don't know that yet. So that's a big question mark. I want to make people understand that, because nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about the possibility of David Peterson hitting a wall, having almost the same amount of innings he did last year, back-to-back years. Haven't done that in his career. That hasn't been talked about enough. We've been worried about Senga, Manaea, Holmes, this guy, that guy. Let's start worrying about David Peterson. Now, hopefully it was just a hiccup and he's fine. But I want everybody to keep an eye on David Peterson, because if he hits a wall, we need somebody in Manaea and Senga to step up, because who's going to go 6 innings? Like, we need deeper. Like, thank God the last 4 outings, you had pitchers go 5 innings or more. I mean, nothing was 6 innings, but you got 5 1/3, 5 innings, 5 2/3. I take that. I would take that. Now, I need some 6 innings from some guys every now and then to help the bullpen a little bit. Because, again, guys, today's the first day of that 16-game stretch of no off days. It's August 19th. Our next off day is September 4th. It's a long time from now. It's 2.5 weeks away. So you can't bury your bullpen here. This is going to be all about the start and pitching. They need to do their goddamn jobs. There is no more excuses. Oh, his injuries, his limits. Bullshit. I don't want to hear about limits, pitch count, innings, nothing. Get on the mound. You get extra days off as it is. Pitch. Get on the mound and be a big boy. Pitch. Please. Please, please, please. Because I'm sick and tired. And great. That's what we need, a rain out tomorrow. We get a rain out. Now we got to play a doubleheader, and we know how that goes with the bullpen. That sucks. So get it done. That's it. Like 38 games ago, we shouldn't be talking about innings limit and pitch count, right? Minaya is well on his way back from rehab before the All-Star break. He came back, right? I don't want to hear, we got to, no. 6 innings, get your ass to 95 pitches at the very least. That's it. Same thing goes for Senga. Same thing goes for Peterson. Let's go. Big boy pants need to get on. I don't want to hear no more excuses because there's been too much of that crap. Right? There's going to be another starter. Sproat's going to get an opportunity some point here. And don't forget, guys, Tyler McGill's coming back. Oh, yes. I love Tyler McGill because it pisses Met fans off. Right? He's been pitching great in AAA. This guy is making a start during his 16-game stretch. Him and Brandon Sproat. Because McGill's going to make that 6th spot in the rotation. He's going to be that 6th guy in the rotation. It's just, that's it. So, guys, listen. Today, get the job done. Jake Irvin can be nasty at times, but again, this is not a good Nationals team. Please beat up on this team, right? I got to go to work in 3 hours. I don't want to be listening to the radio, and I'm going to be pissed off at work yet again because this team loves to piss me off at work. Get the job done. Please get the job done, right? I want to be smiling at work. My coworkers who are Met fans want to be smiling and joking and having fun at work. Not because of the work, but because the Mets are winning. It's a better day. Yesterday was a nice off day, Mets Talk Live, because we were happy. We don't have those moments as Met fans very often. I'd like to go to work and have a smile on my face. And, pump my fist a couple of times when the Mets do well. That's what I want to see. So, Lindor, Soto, Nimmo, Alonso, McNeil, Vientos, Beatty, Torrens, and Mullins is your New York Mets lineup with David Peterson on the mound in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. There will be no postgame today, unfortunately. Our boy Chris is at the game. Obviously, he lives in that D.C. area, so he is going to the games. He'll probably do some shorts. He'll probably, post something at the game and stuff like that. So make sure you check out whatever he's posting up there as well. So no post game, but I will see you tomorrow for a pregame. And hopefully we're talking about 3 in a row from our New York Mets, and we're rolling yet again. We got to stay pace with the Phillies, and we got to remain in that 3rd wild card and keep that lead that we currently have. With that said, guys, thank you for tuning in to the Amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channel and on X. I will see you tomorrow for a Mets pregame. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Enjoy the Mets game, guys. Let's go Mets, and I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Have a good night.
Seven train rumble, headed to the field. Orange and blue vibes, the energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, repping both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire, misunderstood. Hear them all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city sand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's